Hi everyone, today I wanted to talk about Section 7, extraordinary expenses. What are they? So in a divorced family, these are not your everyday expenses like food, clothing, or even maybe your community center kind of sports, but these are those extra expenses like maybe private school, braces, medical and dental expenses that might not be covered by your insurance plan, or maybe your child is in some kind of competitive sport. That would be considered a Section 7 expense. And so how do those expenses get shared between parents that are divorced? So in the law, for the most part, it will say that you can split them proportionately to your income. So let's say one spouse they make $150,000 a year and the other spouse makes $50,000 a year. The law would say, well, you would split them 3/4 to the higher income earner, and the lower income earner pays 1/4 of those expenses. So in a case where the two of you get along really well, you're cooperative, you're transparent with what you make, etc., that might be a really good way to go. It might be the more equitable or fair way to go, and that's great. But sometimes we don't always have somebody that we're dealing with that is cooperative. What do you do in that situation? So in a mediation, you may be talking about different options for handling those kinds of expenses. So in a case where you're dealing with somebody who's not very cooperative, and maybe they're a penny pincher or just everything is a thing to deal with that person, they might say, well, I only want to pay half. I don't care that I make more than you. I only want to pay 50-50 of any of those kinds of expenses. You then have to think through, what are you willing to do to get to the amount that they're going to pay? Like, what effort do you want to expend in that conversation and moving forward? Are you prepared to accept that, hey, 50-50 is okay and at least I'm getting something? Or are you prepared to potentially have a battle every year, every activity, every kind of expense? Hey, I'm going to battle with this person every single time because I want what's fair. You really have to think through not just what's fair, but thinking through reality. Like, set the expectation for yourself in terms of what's realistic. Do I really want to fight with this person? No, it's not fair. Yeah, they should be paying 3/4 of the expense. But do you really want to have to battle with them for every activity? It might mean your peace of mind just to agree on the 50-50 split of those expenses, just so you can move on, just so you can have finality in that particular item and just move forward with your life. Sometimes peace of mind far outweighs what's actually fair, because it's a divorce. Divorce is not fair. Nobody's happy about that situation. Nobody wants to go through it. Unfortunately, it happens. And so you have to think realistically as to what that means for all kinds of things, including these Section 7 expenses. So when you're dealing with someone who's really challenging, maybe you have the ability to see their tax return, or maybe they're going to give you all kinds of trouble before you can actually find out what that number is. So, next year, say your child is in rep soccer, and you guys are trying to figure out who's paying what for that fee. And your ex has just decided, well, I'm not even going to show you my tax return. They're supposed to, but sometimes what we're supposed to do is not always what we do actually do. And sometimes it will take you a ton of time to actually find out that information. Are you prepared to go through that? Are you prepared for the stress that all brings on? Or do you think you might be able to sit back and say, okay, it's not fair, but I'm prepared to accept 50-50 because at least they've contributed something. The other thing to think about is, what if that person is self-employed? So with people that are self-employed, sometimes it's harder to determine what their income is for family law purposes than somebody that is a T4 employee. Because with a T4 employee, it's pretty simple. I see their T4, I'll see their tax return, their line 150 on their tax return is what is considered your income for family law purposes. In that situation, it can be pretty simple. But when they're self-employed, sometimes the expenses you deduct legitimately for tax purposes are not the same expenses that you can deduct for family law purposes. So it may be a case where you start from their line 150 and then you need to add back certain expenses, but you guys might have a battle just discussing which expenses get added back. And again, How prepared are you to have that battle each and every year with this person? At the end of the day, we just want peace, right? You left that relationship for a reason. You wanted to move on with your life. When you have children, you don't just get to move on. You have to deal with each other. You have to co-parent with each other until your kids are grown, and that can be a very long time. So you have to think through what you're prepared to accept. What do you need to have peace in your life? And if you're using mediation, that mediator can help you guys talk through what your options are, what makes sense for your family, but they can also point out to you, this is how the law may work, but this is what happens in practice. This is how it actually works in real life. And even a mediator who's gone through it, they really know. They've been through it. They know what you're going to go through. And they might be able to give you some information in terms of the stress that it all causes, right? Like in your situation, if there's a huge income disparity, it may be a very worthwhile conversation in terms of, no, I'm not sharing 50-50. That doesn't make sense. You need to contribute your proportionate share. But maybe if your incomes are kind of close, or if the other person, again, is just really difficult and you're setting yourself up for all kinds of aggravation by pursuing the proportionate share, it might mean in your specific situation that agreeing to a 50-50 split might be the more realistic option. It also means you're not going to have this battle every single year over what is your income actually? What is it compared to mine? I need to know because I need to know how much you have to contribute to those expenses. It might mean that you are the bigger person and you accept that at least I'm getting 50% of those expenses paid from that person who may not otherwise agree. So again, it's really stepping back, stepping outside of the emotion, because it's hard. It is hard going through divorce and talking about money and who's going to pay for what. But if you can set the emotion aside for just a minute to think through how you want to live your life moving forward, to see what it looks like to have peace on the other side, to be able to see what you might have to give in to the other person just so you can take your peace back. And really what you're doing is you're taking control. You're taking control over your situation and you're telling that person, I don't care. I don't care what you say. I don't care how much difficulty you want to cause. If going 50-50 means I don't have to have that battle with you anymore, maybe that's the way you want to go. And you've taken back control. You've taken back your sanity and your peace of mind because that particular issue has been resolved. And it may not always be the most fair, but it may mean that you have peace of mind, which could be to you more important than what's fair. That's it for today. My name is Neelam Dahl. I'm with Simple Solutions Mediation. We offer family mediation, divorce coaching, personal financial coaching, and financial document preparation for divorce. Have a great day.